Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I know I've been gone for a really long time. And you know, but here I am, I'm back. So, I thought what better to start off with the channel being back than redoing the tier list. A lot of you guys have been saying, well, they used to say, oh Pam, your tier list is outdated. Please update your tier list. This zombie is so good. And you know what? Here's the ultimate 100% correct tier list. So, I have every tower and zombie in the game that's playable. And I'm going to be ranking them based on how my opinions have changed over the time and based on the recent balance updates. So, first off, we're gonna get rid of the ones I don't have. So, I don't have Hollow Boomer, I don't have Ice Apprentice, I don't have Huntsman, I don't have Ice Marauder, I don't have Demon, I don't have Titan, I don't have Expired Jack, and I, sadly, do not have Noob God. So, let's get into it. So we're first starting out with the normal. So the normal, it's a pretty average run-of-the-mill zombie, not really much to say about it. It's got good stats and everything. I kind of use it more than the other two. And I guess I'll just put it here with B, because it's a pretty average zombie. I really have nothing to say about it. So next up is the Speedy. Now, from last time, my opinion on the Speedy has changed. I don't really like it that much. Its health is kind of low, and with the recent tower changes, it kind of just gets crushed. So I'll just put it down here with C. Next up is the slow. Now the slow, it's kind of the same as the normal. I guess messing with the patrols is kind of fun, but that's pretty much all it's really for still. But I'll put it in here with the normal because it does have good damage. Cash gain is pretty decent. And yeah. So next up is the Hunter. The Hunter is by far my favorite zombie in the entire game. S tier. Now, what's so good about the Hunter, you may ask? Well, I'll list out a few things. For one, it has good speed. Two, it's a ranged zombie done completely correct. It's amazing. You can really mess with the patrols with this one. It gets you a real big boost in cash in the beginning of the round. And three, you can actually melee with it. And it works. It works. You can melee with the ranged zombie. And it works. Esther. Next up is the Witch. Now the Witch, I've really changed about the Witch. I really don't like the Witch that much anymore. I've never used it since. Put it in the C tier though. It does have its uses though. I might use it in hard mode, but that's pretty much as far as I'll go with it. It doesn't have contact damage anymore. It's slow when you're not flying. It's kind of inaccurate and pretty finicky at best. So, yeah. So next up is King Boss 1. So King Boss 1, I've pretty much never used this guy. I've used him maybe a few times. But I really don't see myself using it that often because it's kind of, it's not really the best. Sure, the changes were good, but since they removed the jump height and everything, it's kind of fallen off pretty hard. But I'll put it in B tier. So next up is Lord Boss 1. Lord Boss 1, I still like it, but I don't really use it. I am gonna put it here with King Boss 1. Again, with the jump height removal and everything, it's kind of fallen off. Because that was kind of the main thing with the Boss 1, and it's kind of just not there anymore. So it's just kind of a big guy, a big red guy that just stomps fire. With the latest changes though, he is really cheap. He is pretty fast too, and the damage is good, but that's pretty much as far as it will go. So next up is the Boss 1. Now, I like the Boss 1. The Boss 1, I have a lot of respect for it. It's really gone up in my ranking. And I may use it occasionally, like once in a while if I'm not using Hunter. I will put it up here in A tier. If you can use the spawn selection and you can get onto a good spawning spot, small maps, really much anything, you can do some damage there, and you do get quite the profit. The only problem though is that it's a little bit slow sometimes. So next up is Hidden. I like Hidden. My opinion on Hidden has changed a lot. It's one of my favorite zombies. I like using it. It's got good damage, good stats. Visibility is good too. S tier. Next up is the Mystery. So the Mystery, it's another average zombie. I don't really use it that much. Sure, you got the new spawns and everything. The Lost is good, Mist is good, Witch not so much. So I'll put it in here with B. Next up is the Necromancer. Immediate S tier, no comment. Well, I'll drop a few comments. So the Necromancer, it's great, it's amazing. I love the Necromancer. It's probably one of the best zombies in the game right now. It's got good speed. It bullies Void Traders pretty hard. Sure, the summons are good too, but I don't really use them that much. It's kind of just filler. It's cheap too, and it's really profitable. And it's got good skins, I guess. Next up is the Super Slow. Now the Super Slow, this is one of those zombies that are deceptively good. Like, I really recommend using the Super Slow. It's got good speed, it's got good health, and the damage is really good too. It's the same thing against the Void Traders too. Like, you get on the Void Trader, it's bank from there. But you are bigger, you will take more damage, and you will die faster. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Next up is King Boss 2. Now, I don't see myself using King Boss 2 that much. It's kind of just there, I guess. I don't use it. I don't really like it. This is probably the only time I'm gonna be using it for this video. But I will say, I will put it in B tier. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I'm just gonna go in the dead middle here, because I don't really know what else to do with them. So, yeah. Now, next up is Lord Boss 2. I'm gonna put Lord Boss 2 in A tier. Lord Boss 2 is great. He's been great. I've liked Lord Boss 2 since then, and it's one of my favorite zombies to use. But I don't use it that often because of the cash game removal, and Necromancer's on the table too. So that's one that I'll reuse. The Spit is great. You can do a lot of damage with it. The Vomit is also great. Strikers on you, vomit on them. And overall, it's a really good zombie. So next up is the regular Boss 2. This is an immediate S tier. I like Boss 2 a lot. Boss 2 is great. It's got good stats, good health, good damage. Spawn on a Void Trader, free bank. The Spit's good too, but I do see it getting caught on the character sometimes and it goes to waste. The Vomit's been removed of its cash game, which kinda sucks, but other than that, it's still pretty solid. Next up is the Lava. I don't really bother with the Lava. Sure, it's free and all, but since the fire damage nerf, it's kinda fallen off, and I don't use it, like, ever. So now we have everyone's favorite, the Void Supporter. So the Void Supporter, it's incredible. It's always been incredible since its release. It still is. S tier. The thing with the Void Supporter is that it has good range, AoE is amazing, it has good damage, and it's pretty general in everything you can do. You can use the heal, but I don't use it. But if you use it properly, get a good spawn, you can get a lot of money with it. So next up we have my favorite zombie in the game, the Winter Wendigo. S tier. All I can say about the Wendigo is it's incredible. I like it a lot. It's big, it's fast, it does a lot of damage, and once you're on a Void Trader, it's over for them. I will say that the Shriek is you don't really need to use it. You can use it, but I don't use it, and I still profit pretty well off of it. If the scenario is good, you can get the streak off, but you'll probably die before you can finish it. Or you'll die after you finish it, and it's kind of just, you got your prowlers running around there by themselves, and they probably die really fast. Next up is the lightning. Now the lightning, it's another decent zombie. I don't use it that much. It is cheap, it is fast. You can kind of play around with the void traders a bit, but I don't use it that much because there's better options on the table like the winter wendigo and the void supporter. But if there's no other option, you can use the lightning, but you probably won't really do much with it. In a certain scenario, you can do pretty good with it, but that's pretty much about it. C tier. I'm now realizing that I swapped the hidden and the hidden boss. So next up we have the aforementioned hidden boss that I swapped around on accident. So the hidden boss, it's kind of just there. I don't use it that much. I will use it, but it's kind of just supplementary. I will say that the invisibility is decent. It's got good speed, good damage. I will put it in B tier though, because it does have a lot of uses. Next up is King Hidden Boss. I don't like King Hidden Boss. The problem with King Hidden Boss is that, well, he's King Hidden Boss, he's just a bigger Hidden Boss. But the main problem is that he's a lot bulkier, he's bigger, he costs a little bit more, you don't get money from him, and etc, etc. And I really don't ever use him. So, yeah. Next up is Lord Hidden Boss. Now, my opinion on Lord Hidden Boss has changed so much. It's now one of my most favorite zombies to play around with. It's a lot of fun to play around with. Lots of trolling to happen there, which is my favorite thing to do. And overall, with the price decrease, it's skyrocketed in my opinion. And same thing goes as usual. You can go like 4+ ways with it without dying if you do it right. So, you know, S tier. Next up is the slime. Now the slime is the same case as super slow. It's deceptively fast. And it has good health, good damage. In hard mode, its resistances are crazy. And the spawns are great too. Debuff is awesome. I will put it up here in A tier with super slow though, because I don't find myself using that often. Because again, there's better options on the table, like the later on Mystery 2. Now the aforementioned Mystery 2. S tier. It goes without saying that Mystery 2 is an amazing zombie. It's a great all-rounder. You can use him all the way to the end of the ground if you wanted. It's pretty much a limitless of what you can do. The summons are great. The spirit summon is great if you get on a void trader. They're done for unless they know that you can strike them. Or if it's around other tiles, then it'll probably die and not really do much. But it's still a great spawn. Then there's the Ice Marauder spawn too, which is also really good. But the one problem, the King Boss 3 supporter spawn, the blue lava spawn, and the boss 2 spawn. The boss 2 spawn and the King Boss 3 supporter spawn give no money. The blue lava is the same problem with the lava. Fire damage got nerfed to oblivion, it's useless, and it dies in like a second. Same with the lightning too. But other than that, if you get good spawns with it, it crushes the competition with these other zombies here. And it's easily the best zombie in this entire list. Next up is King Boss 3. Now, I personally have not used King Boss 3 ever. I've only used it like once or twice because there was really no other option. I don't really like him that much. He is fast, I guess, but he is also really big. And being big and fast is usually not a good thing. Because, you know, you have lower health and you're a bigger hitbox. So, I will put him in C though. Because I don't really see myself using him ever. Now we have the better King Boss 3. Lord Boss 3. A tier. Now Lord Boss 3, it's great. It still is great. I still love using him. You can use him on the Void Wave. He'll do great. But you probably won't make much of a difference. But it's good for your XP gain. And if you know your targets well, then you're all set. The supporter cooldown is really short too. You can spam that to your heart's content as much as you want. And there's pretty much no consequences. The only problem is that it does cost 30,000, which you can use to use Eternal Jack, King Boss 4, Lord Boss 4, if you're really there to make a server lose. But other than that, if you're there for the XP, you can use Lord Boss 3, he does great. So next up is Boss 3. Boss 3 is the same problem with King Boss 3. If you remember what I said, he's big, he has a bigger hitbox, he has lower health, damage is kind of low, I don't really like him that much, he's a little bit expensive. C tier. Next up is Planet Earth. S tier. Planet Earth is amazing, it's been amazing, it always is amazing. You can use him pretty much anytime, but you will probably die pretty fast if you don't know what you're doing. You can use the overclock, it's kind of like a quick burst zombie that you get a lot of damage in. You can use him on the Void Wave, but you really won't get much done because you're kind of small. But he is fun, he's got a lot of skins, there's a lot of cosmetic options there. And since the rebalance where he can move while he's punching, it makes him a whole lot better. Next up is Eternal Jack. I'm gonna put Eternal Jack in A tier. Now Eternal Jack, he's great to make servers lose if you're into that. But the only problem is that he's really not gonna do much on the earlier waves, and you're probably only gonna use him on the Void Wave because, you know. The revive is alright, I guess. You can get a whole minute off the timer, or more if you're doing it right. You can spam the lightning to get all the stationaries, and you can just wreak havoc with this guy. Until you end up dying though, and you have to wait until your revive is ready, which is a whole 16 seconds or so. I forgot how much it was. And that can put a little damp on your efficiency and whatever, but other than that, it's pretty solid. I do like him. I use him on the Void Wave if I'm there to make the server lose. And overall, it's a pretty solid zombie still. Next up we have Toboggan. Now Toboggan is objectively the best Juggernaut in the entire game right now. He's a great generalist, you can use him pretty much whenever you want and he'll do good. He's almost as small as Nuke God, which is great. He's fast, he has a lot of abilities to play around with, and the damage is, it seems low, but it really works. You can throw your spear to get some AoE in. I really recommend doing the AoE instead of doing the spear slash, because there's a lot of coverage there, you can really defend yourself a lot better and everything. But I will say to stay away from Void Treaders because you will get your butt kicked. S tier. Next up we have King Boss 4. Now King Boss 4, he's King Boss 4. He's great. A1 likes him. I'm gonna put him in S tier. There's really no other argument here. If you compare a King 4 with a Lord 4, you're gonna wreak havoc for the entire server. If you're there for XP, he's great too. And overall, it's pretty solid. Now for Lord Boss 4. Now Lord Boss 4 is basically the laser equivalent of King Boss 4. I'm gonna put him in there in S tier with him. If you know what your targets are, you're gonna do great. If you know which targets to avoid, you're gonna do great. And generally speaking, he's pretty decent in pretty much everything. But the one problem is that you do not have a bullet resistance. So if you can stay away from the Railgunners and the Golden Zed, you're perfectly fine. But even so, if you do go after them, you're still probably going to do good. But unless you're walking on the Golden Zed, you're probably going to take a whole lot of damage and really suffer. So next up we have Boss 4. So Boss 4, I don't see myself using him that often. He's kind of just there. I will say though that if you can use him properly, if you get a good spawn, he's pretty decent overall. But I just don't really see myself using him that much. So next up is Boss 5. Now, I'm not really a big fan of Boss 5. The health is actually kind of low, given the tower stats. And the rage is kind of useless. You're probably never going to be able to use it. If you do use it, you're probably not going to get much done. But if you can get your targets right, you can make some sort of profit, but at the same time, I still don't really like it. So I really don't really have much of an opinion on him, but I will put him up here with Boss 4 because they're kind of the same thing, except Boss 5 is a little bit more expensive and I still don't really like it that much. Next up is Necromancer Boss. I'm not gonna bother with Necromancer Boss. I don't like it that much. Necromancer Boss is really not that good. If you're in a really bad situation, you're gonna die on the spot. You can get good damage in on the Void Traders and everything, but that's pretty much as far as you'll get. Your Fire Spirit summons, they're okay too, but again, there's still better options. According to my playstyle, there is. So I will put him down here in the Snore Don't Bother tier, because I really don't bother with him that much. Finally, we have the Guardian. The Guardian is, I don't really know much to say about him. The Guardian is he's kind of just a big guy with an axe. The lifesteal is okay, profit is good. But again, I don't see myself using him that often. He has a limit of 1, you're probably not going to be able to get him that much. Though the lifesteal, if you can get into a good group of towers, you can go there, you can go wild for a while. But you will still die pretty fast sometimes. So I'm going to put it in the C tier. It does have a lot of uses. There's a whole mission for him. I hate that mission. And, that's pretty much all I can say about him. Overall, the recent zombie chains have been really good, really. But, again, there's the cash gain removal. Since the addition of Winter Wendigo and Void Supporter and everything else, there's been a couple workarounds to that. You don't really gotta worry about the cash gain removal that much. The double EXP from the Juggernauts, Kings, and Lords is great too. Zombie mode is like a whole nother thing now. It's totally for XP now. And I think that's a pretty unique way to take a pull on it. The recent skins and everything have been great too. I really like the planet skins a lot. There's been a lot of good ones. But recently with the tower changes and all, you're probably not going to do much with zombie mode. You're still probably not going to win. unless the server's exceptionally uncoordinated. That's the only time you can really win. But other than that, the recent zombie chains have been great. I've been finding myself having a lot of fun with zombie mode, especially with Hunter and everything, because this zombie right here is the highlight of zombie mode right now for me. Because it's amazing. It's a great well-rounder. I sometimes use it on the later waves if there's a plasma trooper, because you can just bank off a plasma trooper. It's totally fine. They won't care. So I guess now it's off to the towers. So now we're gonna move on to the towers. So we're first starting out with the Scout. So the Scout is just the starting tower. There's not really much to say about it. Its damage is decent, I guess. But I do find that the spread is quite the hassle and you really don't hit your shots that you should be. So that kind of gets in the way a bit. But I think I'll put it down here and see though, because there's definitely better options. Next up is the Sniper. The Sniper would probably be meta if the Marksman wasn't here. The Sniper, it has good damage at max, it's cheap to max out, it's good for solos. But that's pretty much it. I don't really use this tower that much, but I do think it has a lot of potential. But the problem is that, again, there's Marksman, so that's a better option immediately. It's just like a complete upgrade to it. So I think I will put the Sniper in C tier as well. Because, again, there's not really much to say about it. So next up is the Fragger. The Fragger is it's just kind of there. You have no reason to use the Fragger at all. There's so many better options. It has a one skin, and it's a good skin, but it's for the fragger, which you really don't have any reason to use ever. What's worse is that you can't aim your throw after you throw it. So whichever way you click first, that's where it's going. You can't change the direction while you're in the middle of the animation, so you're gonna probably miss a few times. The explosion radius is kind of big, but the damage is still kind of low. I'll put it down here in the snore don't bother tier for obvious reason. So next up is a shotgunner. I'm a little bit mixed about the shotgunner. The shotgunner is kind of like the sniper if you made it more close range. It's cheap to max out, but the one thing here again is that it's a shotgun, so you're not gonna be able to get any of your shots off unless you're like right up on the zombie. And that can prove an issue. You will die a lot. There is the shield at max, but that doesn't really do much. And again, there's better options though. I'll put it down here in C though, because it does have a few uses and it is pretty decent overall as far as I'm concerned.
Happy birthday, Odwin.
Next up is the cryo gunner. Oh my gosh, this cryo gunner. This is the only time I'm going to use this train wreck of a tower. I don't think I need to explain why you shouldn't bother with the cryo gunner, because it's just bad. There's not really much else to say about it. The freeze is just there. Like, there's not really much about it. I guess you can argue that it's supposed to be a support tower, but it's so boring to play as, and you have no reason at all to use this tower. If you're one of those people that likes to troll zombie mode, quote unquote, then I guess you can, but at the same time you're kind of wasting your time. And you could probably, quote, troll zombie mode better with a different tower. I don't think I need to say where this one's going. Next up we have the Enforcer. So the Enforcer, it's kind of like a early wave Void Trader kind of, but the damage is kind of lackluster. There is the shield, there's the stun, but the majority of the time this is just kind of wait at a spawn simulator tower. It's not really very interactive at all, and when there's the King Boss one out, you just stand still, and that's it. But I will say, it does have a lot of utility. It's good for your team, not so much for your wallet though, because it doesn't really make much. I'll put it in C. Next up is the Tweeter. I kind of like the Tweeter actually. It's like a direct upgrade to the Scout. Like, you should be using the Tweeter over the Scout. It does have the same problem with the spread shot being terrible, but at the same time you get to jump high at max. You get to go behind the hill on store, which you can just farm off zombies from there. You to get the cash from this tower. It can be good, and the damage is also not that bad either. I'll put it in here with B tier. I kind of like it. So next up is the Soldier. I like the Soldier too. Soldier has good damage. One problem is that it's a little bit expensive sometimes. Hard mode, it's a bit of a hassle. But in Classic, you can max out pretty fast and it's not really that hard to use. If you just get your headshots, then it's just free kills from there. Like, it's not really that hard. I will say though that the speed is kind of a detriment because you are kind of slow, and that's not usually a good thing, so, you know. But it has good skins too. I like the rank skin. I'm gonna put it in A tier because I actually really like it. Next up is the Knifer. The Knifer has the same problem as the Enforcer. It's kind of just wait at a spawn simulator. Sometimes when you're swinging it doesn't even connect, and that sucks. It's pretty expensive to max out. Sure, you have the invisibility or whatever, but there's still a better option. And most importantly, it is a melee tower, but the problem is that it dies way too fast to actually be a melee tower. You can, because you just get pummeled by a boss too. Like, there's not really much else you can do about it. And again, your hits won't even connect sometimes, so that's another thing. I don't really like it. I'll put it down here in C tier though. So next up is the Patrol. I haven't used the Patrol that much, but there's a few strategies around it. It's good in early hard mode, good in early classic. You can kind of use it in endgame, but I really would not recommend it because there's way better options than this. And then there's also the slows you have to worry about because they will crush you. But overall, it's kind of just like, it's just a patrol, that's really it. I'll put it in C tier with these other ones too. So next up is the Doctor. The Doctor is one of my favorite towers to use. It's pretty fun to run around with. You get to juggle between healing and self-defense, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty quick with the money gain too, and the NPCs don't target you as well, so that's another good thing. I really have nothing bad to say about this tower, but I will say that it kind of sucks that the healing doesn't give you XP, but it makes sense. I'll put it in A tier. I kind of like it. So next up we have the Tuber. The Tuber is another tower I like. It's got big damage, big AoE, and it's pretty cool. It's not that expensive to max out either, and you can kind of get it done in a jiffy if you try hard enough. You can get headshots with it too, and that's even better. But there's also the witch to worry about, so that's one thing that might get in your way. I'm gonna put it in B tier. So next up is the Mercenary. I like the Mercenary too, but I don't really use it that much. Once you're maxed out, you can just keep on shooting, like it doesn't even matter what you do. And it's good against boss 2s as well. If you just headshot them, then you can just get bank off them right there. One problem though, again, is it's slow. Earlier levels, it's kind of hard to get that money up because you gotta get like 6,000 to max out with 30 ammo slots. I'll put it in C tier as well. So next up we have the Flamethrower. Flamethrower is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a flamethrower. One problem though is, of course, you need to have the fire on the enemy for a while for it to actually proc. But that's for balancing reasons, so, you know. The only good reason to use this tower is probably against zombie mode as a counter. You can use it on King Hidden, Lord Hidden, and it kind of works there. But at the same time, your teammates probably won't really notice that much, so I'm gonna put it in D tier. It's gonna be our first one there. Next up we have the Brax. So from the one time I played the Brax for this video, in this footage right here, I kinda liked it. It had good damage. It's not too expensive to max out either, considering the damage again. And if you try hard enough, it's not really that hard to get. If you're a low level, I would recommend it. But any higher, you probably don't really need it. I'll put it in B tier though. Next up we have the Marksman. This is an easy S tier, there's not really much else to say. Marksman, good damage if you can aim, and it's pretty good for boss 2s. It gets you a lot of money. It's easy to use if you can aim. Basically this tower just boils down to get headshots and you win. That's pretty much it. And I like my headshots, so this is one of my top towers. It's good in hard mode, good in classic. There's really no reason not to use this. If you have the aim for it, this is a tower you should definitely use in early game. But sadly, it kind of throws Sniper off, so that sucks. Next up, we have the Plasma Trooper. The Plasma Trooper, I loved it in the Winter 2023 event. It was great to use. It had good damage, good health, easy to upgrade. In actual games, it's kind of just stay in one spot and hope something walks close to you. But once you max out, you turn into a literal light bulb of doom. That's pretty much it. You can just sit there. If you're sitting there by a doctor, you're pretty much good to go until some tragedy happens and you get one-shotted or something. I do find it hard to use it on certain maps though. So any small maps, you're pretty much good to use it. In its earlier levels, it's a little bit difficult sometimes, but it's not really that hard. You can kind of go around it a little bit. I'll put it in B tier. Next up, we have the Archer. The Archer is pretty much a side grade to the Marksman. Like, they're pretty much the same thing. Again, there's really no reason not to use the Archer. The piercing is great. Fire damage is always a good thing because it slows it down. You're fast too. That you're guaranteed to survive many situations. It's not that hard to max out either. If you have the aim, you're good to go. That's pretty much it. So I'm gonna put the archer, obviously, in S tier. Again, no reason not to use it. Like, it's a good tower. Next up, we have the aviator. The aviator is, again, one of those towers that I don't really use. The damage is low, it's hard to control, it's not really worth the effort. I see a lot of people crashing into the zombies, and if you don't know, that damage sucks, so you really shouldn't be doing that. But even so, the damage is low anyways, so I wouldn't really recommend this tower. I guess you can use it for king hidden boss, but that's pretty much about it. I'm gonna put this one in D tier though, because it does have its use. Next up we have the commander. This is an easy S tier. The commander is one of my all-time favorite characters in this game. It's totally chill, you can just do whatever you want with it. It's not too hard to use, it's not very taxing, doesn't really need much strategy or complexity. And you can buff your teammates with it too, so it's just good all around. It's very user-friendly, cash gain and XP gain is very high. And then you have your striker too, which can just do all the work for you, which is amazing. Way better than what the void trader supporters can do. I really have no downsides about this character. And overall, it's honestly a great character. It's probably one of the best ones in the game right now in terms of playability. And Commander's like the spitting image of this. It's easy to use, it's not very complex, it's very user-friendly, and the damage is high, it has support, it's pretty much got the whole kit. So this is an easy S tier, no questions asked. Next up we have the Mordar. I kinda like the Mordar, but one problem is, again, map choices. Sometimes it does good on some maps, sometimes it does bad on other maps. This map particularly that's in this footage, it's not really a good map for it. I just kinda wanted to get Mordar out of the way because I couldn't get a good map for it, so I'm on Oasis now. But on maps like Ethereal Sky Garden, it's great. If you can max it out at King Hidden Boss, it just crushes it. So I'm gonna put Mordar in A tier. Really the only downside about this is, of course, you need to stand still to fire on the first few levels. And again, the map's mattering here. And there's also it on hard mode, doesn't really do much there because boss 3 is explosion immune. You can bring them all the way to endgame, but you could probably swap out by then. But I'd recommend this tower if you know what you're doing. Next up we have Commando. He's got a high fire rate, low damage. I find it hard to max out because the damage is so low. You can sit by a commander, but damage is still low. It is still a good tower though, I will say, but you're slow, you have a lot of health, zombie mode is going to target you. I will say though, at max the stats are good, still pretty solid. I'm gonna put him in B tier though. Again, I find it hard to max out with it because the damage is low. Early game it kinda sucks. So yeah. Next up we have Golden Scout. Now I used to use Golden Scout a lot of the time, but now I kinda don't. Because there's better options, there's Marksman, there's Archer, there's Commander. The speed is okay, I guess. Again, it has the same problem in early game where it's kinda hard to max it out because it's so expensive. But the damage is good, and again, the speed is good for early game. You can run away from a lot of your problems there. But later on, I find people using it in endgame, and I don't know why they're doing that, because there's definitely better options. I'm gonna put Golden Scout in C tier though, but you guys can correct me all you want with this one. Again, I don't really have much of an opinion because I don't use it that much, but I'm open to see what you guys think. So next up we have a Spiritual Advocate. This is an S tier for me as well. Spiritual Advocate is another great tower. It's another one of my all-time favorites. It juggles between support, ranged, melee. You can melee with it, I would recommend it. The meleeing with this guy is pretty good. Another problem, it's kind of recurring, it's hard to max out, it's kind of expensive. But once you do max out, you can go all the way to endgame with that, and there's really not much problems there. When King Boss 4 comes around, you can use your laser to beam down a lot of its health. And overall, it's pretty unique. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it, and I really like it. Damage is good too, and there's really, again, there's no reason not to use them. Unless you have other options, of course. Because there could be a better option than Spiritual Advocate at some times. But if you're there for fun, you could definitely use them, and it's pretty fun. So next up is the Railgunner. Railgunner, big gun, big damage, but big charge. It does bypass resistances though, which is always a good thing. But if you're not in a secure spot, you're just gonna die over and over and over again. You're gonna get targeted by zombie mode. It's pretty much a struggle to use this thing, as far as I'm concerned though. I do like it though, so I think I'll put this one. Personal bias here, I'll put it in B. Again, this might be different for you. I don't really like it that much, but again, this is just all my opinion here. So it's probably wrong, probably right, can't really tell. So next up we have the Void Trader. Now, I kind of like the Void Trader. I haven't used it that much, but when I do use it, it's kind of fun. If you use it properly, you can carry your team pretty hard. You can use it to get money in the early game. Use it for some stronger towers along the way that you can probably max out by then, which is a good alternative for that. If you know where to choose your spawn, that's always a good thing. Because this is a big guy with a short range. So if you can choose your spawn, get a good spot, sit by a zombie spawn, then you're gonna succeed most of the time. But of course, you're a Void Trader, and we all know what that means. Zombie mode. So you might want to watch your back, because you probably might die a lot more than you'd be comfortable with. But other than that, it's actually pretty decent. It's solid. It's been good. If you can grab it before it gets full, that's great. Another solid tower, I'll give it A tier. Next up we have the Phaser. This is a tower I don't like. Sure, the glass cannon build is cool and all, I guess, but is the glass cannon build in TPBF really a good thing? You're just gonna die left and right. There's really no going around it. There's a lot of enemies with Phaser immunity, Lord Boss 4, lightning specifically. And you have to charge up your Phaser gun to reach max damage, which can take a while, and you're probably gonna die before that. So that also kinda sucks. Just for that, I'm gonna put it in C tier, because I really don't like how it plays. Damage is good, obviously, but on a gameplay wise, I don't like it at all. Next I have the Golden Commando. So for the time I was playing Golden Commando for this video, I actually really liked it. I liked this thing so much. It was probably the most fun I've had with the tower for a while. I'm gonna put it in S tier. So what makes Golden Commando so good, you may ask? Well, I think, personally, it's a lot more interactive than these other towers, and obviously than Golden Zed. Because with Golden Commando, you're actually running around, you're trying to find a good spot, and then when you do, you can just beam down bosses, pretty much anything that gets in your way, and it's great. And just from gathering footage alone, I think I prefer Golden Commando than Golden Zed. But again, that's just my opinion. And yours might be different, but I like Golden Commando more than Golden Zed, so there you go. So next up we have the Zed. The Zed's another tower that I like. I think it's just being free from Golden Zed, because that's kind of like a curse once you get it, because you're destined to use it whenever you need to. The Zed is just like a bigger patrol, that's pretty much it. But I do find the Zed harder to max out. It is on the expensive side, obviously. Damage is good though, you can be buffed by a commander, which is great. And during the Winter 2023 event, this was probably my favorite tower to play with. And in normal gameplay, gathering this footage, it was not that bad either. I kind of liked it as well. I'm gonna put the Zed in A tier. So next up we have my favorite tower in the game, the Exterminator. The Exterminator is pretty self-explanatory. Big laser go beam on all the enemies and they die. If you can trail with your mouse, this tower crushes everything in its path. Unless, of course, it's a boss 3, then you're probably gonna die. But, you know. It's kind of got the same Golden Commando effect. You're trying to find a good spot, and then when you do, then you're set from there. And you just beam everything down. And, again, you can be buffed by Commander, which is always great. There's really no question where Exterminator's going. I like Exterminator so much. Way better than Golden Zed. Again, the Golden Zed curse. I'll get to that in a moment. So, finally, to end off our tier list, we have the fabled Golden Zed.
Birthday, Odwin.
This I'm putting in B tier, and I'll explain why. So let me talk about the Golden Zed curse here, as I like to call it. So as soon as you reach level 15k, you use Golden Zed for the first time, right? And then afterwards, you're just destined to use it over and over and over and over again, and it just gets way boring. What's worse about Golden Zed is it's expensive, and you're gonna die a whole lot because you're just gonna get in a constant loop of spawn in, explode, spawn in, explode, spawn in, explode, and it just becomes a hassle after a while. But there might be some people that like Golden Zed, some people that don't. I'm one of those that don't. Honestly, I try to avoid Golden Zed as much as I can. Like, it's actually a pain to use. And then once the Void Wave comes, you just have to spawn in and then ram a Guardian as much as you can until it eventually dies, and then you just go back to ramming zombies and dying, and then it just keeps going from there. It used to be able to solo, but now it can't, which sucks even more. With the recent NPC changes, it's chaos to play with, that's all I'm gonna say. It's way too expensive, it power creeps everything else in the game, and I really don't like it. But again, if you like it, that's totally your thing. I, for one, despise it, and I actively avoid using it. I'm there for Exterminator and Commander, because those two towers are actually fun. So, here's our completed tier list. I'll put it on screen right now. So, I guess that's our completed tier list. Every character in the game ranked from S to D to Snore, Don't Bother, and the ones I don't have, which obviously aren't being graded. Overall, you can see that a lot of the zombies are up higher than the towers because effectively there's really no, quote, bad zombie, because they're all good in their own way. But for the towers, there are bad towers, there are good towers, there are some towers that stand out, and for Zion mode, it's pretty much overall, if you know what you're doing, then you're fine. Again, the hard mode zombies, they do change. Some of them don't really get much of a change. Boss 4 obviously really does. Boss 5 kind of just, But anyways, I'm back to YouTube. Yay! Play a clap track here. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to the next videos I can make. So, yeah. I'll see you guys whenever I decide to upload again, which hopefully won't be another year. See ya.